Hello, and welcome back to the Cognitive Revolution. Today, I'm excited to share a special cross-post from Agents of Scale, a new podcast from Zapier CEO Wade Foster, who longtime listeners will remember from his September 2024 appearance on the Cognitive Revolution, when we discussed Zapier's evolution from no-code pioneer to an early LLM knowledge worker. Wade's guest for today's episode is Amanda Kahlow, previously founder and CEO of unicorn 6 Cents, and now founder and CEO of 1Mind, a startup that recently announced a $40 million fundraise to support its mission to redefine go-to-market with what Amanda calls AI superhumans, video avatar digital teammates that engage, qualify, and convert prospects into customers. The company promises AI-led exponential growth, and as you'll hear, for Amanda, the new era of AI-led sales begins at home. Adopting a classic dog fooding strategy, which Amanda refers to as drinking our own champagne, 1Mind leverages its own superhuman, named Mindy, to source 76% of the company's pipeline opportunities. And when 1Mind was working on a deal with HubSpot, instead of personally answering questions from the 20-plus people who needed to sign off on the deal, Amanda directed them to Mindy. Today, HubSpot is a reference customer, reporting a 25% increase in revenue after deploying superhumans in their product-led growth motion. And Amanda argues, with clarity that only comes from someone who's already lived it, that traditional organizational structures, with marketing, sales, and customer success functions operating as separate organizations, are quickly becoming obsolete. If an AI superhuman can support a buyer from their first website visit through an eventual upsell, businesses don't need to organize around human capacity constraints or other limitations, and can instead build a single cohesive team to support the entire lifecycle. When it comes to the impact on jobs, Amanda is both clear-eyed and visionary. She sees account executives as safest from AI because the challenges of building relationships and navigating organizational politics remain hard for AIs. But she warns that SDR roles focused on qualifying leads and solutions engineers who primarily do demos are likely to be outperformed by systems that can keep a prospect's full history in their context window, speak fluently in any language and about any industry vertical, and instantly retrieve any slide from thousands of decks. To ensure that 1Mind is poised to take advantage of this opportunity, Amanda has a remarkable policy. If a human employee can manage to eliminate their own role with AI, she will reward that individual financially and find them a new role at the company. And if at some point that no longer makes sense, Amanda hopes that society will respond to AI-provided abundance by de-emphasizing the expectation of economic contribution and elevating work that serves human well-being in other ways. This episode is brought to you ad-free thanks to sponsorship by Zapier, and I do sincerely encourage you to subscribe to the Agents of Scale podcast. Another recent episode that I particularly recommend is Wade's conversation with John Nerona of Gamma, which I'm going to take a little credit for identifying as the best AI presentation maker way back in August of 2023, and which recently announced a fundraise, led by Andreessen Horowitz, at a valuation north of $2 billion. If you're anything like me, you'll want to hear how they did it, and Wade and John's conversation about Gamma's approach to both product development and company building is every bit as valuable as this one. With that, I hope you enjoy this masterclass in first principles thinking about AI transformation with Amanda Kahlow of 1Mind from Wade Foster's new podcast, Agents of Scale.
It's a whole new world and a new exciting world. So I feel like we have to reset the playbooks again. Like I thought, oh, now I know the playbook of what SaaS framework and go-to-market is. And I think we're just walking into a whole new world that none of us know how to approach.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, is there a playbook? Felt like maybe there felt like there was in the last decade, but if there was, I never quite cracked it at Zapier. We had to figure it all out on our own. And now I'm definitely like, there's not a playbook for how to go do this with AI. So, how
are you doing it? Am I allowed to turn the question back to you?
Gosh, that's a good question. We're figuring it out. Hey folks, welcome to Agents of Scale. I'm Wade Foster. I'm the co-founder and CEO here at Zapier. And my guest today is a serial entrepreneur. Amanda Kahlow. She is founder and CEO of 1Mind. Before that, she founded 6sense, grew it into a $1 billion plus company. And at 1Mind, she is building Superhumans, designed to sell, reason, and connect with customers. Kind of like your top salesperson, but smarter. So we're going to talk a little bit about what Amanda has learned building, scaling companies, but particularly now that she's doing it in the age of AI. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Wade. It's awesome to be here. And just for, I just always like to clarify, I didn't take us to the 5 billion marker. I was in the early years, stepped down and brought an awesome team in, and they've done wonders with the company. So just like to take full credit for what's, it wasn't my whole doing. I did have a piece of it, but not the biggest piece.
Well, I want to go back even further to kick it off. Tell me about CI Insights. This was the first company I think you started and ran that for a good while as well, too. What did you learn about running a company there that you've now applied to your prior or your, I guess, later companies?
Yeah, that's crazy. No one ever asked me about that company. But I started I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur. I started that company when I was 22. So I was actually working for a company called Giga Information Group. They got bought by Forrester. I was working on a project. I asked for a raise. I was told I needed to wait 6 months to get the raise. And I was like, I'm going to spin off and do my own thing. So that's how it spun out. That went on for 16 years. And we were basically a big data, before big data was sexy and it was a thing. And now probably, the younger generation probably has no idea what the term of big data is anymore. We don't say it anymore, but taking unstructured data and matching it up with structured data, making sense of it. Our customers were Cisco, Intel. We had a lot of big enterprise B2B companies, and I was merging together their sales data with their marketing data, with their customer success data, and doing a lot of backward analytics. So it was a good run, and it was a lifestyle business. I never really sought out to be a venture-backed CEO of a tech company. In fact, I was living in San Francisco, and I don't even think I knew what it meant to be venture-backed at the time. But I knew I wanted to purpose-build software based on a project I had worked on at Cisco. And I was like, shit, I need money to do this. How am I going to go get $10 million to build what I need? And so that's how 6sense was born, out of that company that went on for quite some time.
Got it. And, now with 1Mind, you started a company post ChatGPT and also started multiple companies pre ChatGPT. So we get a little bit of a comparison here. What's different for you this time around with this company? What are you doing differently in how you're building your company because you have these capabilities that you can tap into?
Yeah, I think everything is different. I think personally for me, I'm in a different place in my life. And one of my favorite sayings is the more you know you don't know. So I think back in 2012, 2013, when I started 6sense, I thought I knew everything and I knew basically nothing. And I was going in blind. So now, having been to this rodeo and seen it before, coming into this world at 1Mind from my past life at 6sense, it's, I made every mistake in the book at 6sense. And the playbooks back then, there were no playbooks really for go-to-market and SaaS, that we were just getting started at the early days. The only company really to look up to in those early days was Salesforce. And so we were all trying to emulate Salesforce, which was a mistake. That as an early stage company trying to copy what they're doing without the resources that they had, huge mistake. Bringing people over from Salesforce that I think, if they're doing it at Salesforce, they can do it here. That was another big mistake. So made plenty of mistakes along the way. But to your question about having, the foundational models today at our disposal, I think it's a world where we, obviously everyone's saying this, we can do so much more with less, and everything is about speed. At the end of the day, we have to ship fast. I expect a lot more. I drive really hard. I feel like I'm kind of a combination of this empathetic, loving person that cares deeply about the people that work for me, but I also drive very hard and I have incredibly high standards. And I'm very transparent about where I stand on things. But yeah, it's a whole new world and a new exciting world. So I feel like we have to reset the playbooks again. I thought, now I know the playbook of what SaaS framework and go-to-market is. And I think we're just walking into a whole new world that none of us know how to approach.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, is there a playbook? Felt like maybe there felt like there was in the last decade, but if there was, I never quite cracked it at Zapier. We had to figure it all out on our own. And now I'm definitely like, there's not a playbook for how to go do this with AI. So,
how are you doing it? Am I allowed to turn the question back to you?
Gosh, that's a good question. We're figuring it out. Like we did the PLG thing for so long, and now we're trying to figure out how to turn that into like an enterprise sales motion. I don't know that I've got enough lessons learned yet to pontificate on it. The sort of more you know, the more you don't know definitely rings true to me on that question. But you're building 1Mind that helps people sell better using, what you call superhumans, probably other people might call them agents. Like, what are you learning from your customers around what is working at this moment in time? Because we hear all the hype and all this sort of fantastical stuff, but what is practically working? If you're, running these companies today, what is the thing that you should be doing that maybe you aren't yet?
Yeah. And I'm going to bring it full circle to what you were talking about with your PLG motion. So just to answer the question, what we're doing first, we're building what we call go-to-market superhumans. It's a face, voice, and double click on the brain. So think of it as a go-to-market glean, if you will. It's all about being able to take action in agency and to have human-like experiences. The face is a gimmick to get people to talk to it. I don't believe the face is where the core IP lives. I think that, it's really all in her ability to carry on a conversation exponentially better than a human. So, these our superhumans behave and take on roles across your entire go-to-market cycle. So everything from first touch and inbound. So when somebody comes to the website, it's obvious, not just a chatbot. She can share slides. She can give the pitch. She can give a live demo. She can read the screen. She can see what's happening. So, humans have limitations. If I were giving you a demo right now, I would have to, and I'm going through slides, or if I'm going through a slide deck and you ask me a question, I might have the slide, but I can't bring it into the conversation in real time. I can't take 10,000 slides and be like, boom, there's the one that answers your question, because I don't know where the conversation's going to go. So I think our superhumans supersede the capacity limitations of humans, both on memory. Humans forget everything. Recall, ability to go deep and wide. So a company like Databricks, for example, that we're talking to, they sell to everybody who needs data, right? So anyone who needs data across any industry, any vertical. Your salespeople can't really understand all the different industries and verticals they're selling to and talk the vernacular of their customers. But what if you could truly empathize with your customers? So we're building these human-like experiences that are better than humans, help you grow, help you cut costs, but at the end of the day, delight buyers. Create a better buying experience instead of going through a bunch of SDRs, so no offense, but the 22-year-old kid who doesn't know your business just trying to qualify you. And then you get passed to an AE who can't go deep technically, so then you get to a solutions engineer, sales engineer, and then you buy, and then you go to a customer success person, and oh my God, it's a nightmare what we do to our buyers. But to your question about where do we see the most value? And where do we see that this is actually resonating and working? And the answer is in those areas where there is no business model to put a human. So for you in a PLG motion, and you're trying to go sales led. So if I were selling to you, I would say, let us help you we call it AILG, AI led growth, where your buyers actually want to have a conversation and know how to use your tool. We are a happy customer of your product, and we use it within our product, and we absolutely love it. But I can tell you right now that I kind of barely understand it in the sense I'm not using it every day. But if you're trying to sell to me, you'd have to dumb it down to the CEO level, right? And help me understand okay, this is how you can connect your different systems, and these are all the different workflows it can do. So if you were selling, you don't know if I'm going to be a $500 a month deal or if I'm going to be a $5 million a month deal, right? So you can't, and by ICP and other attributes, we don't know those things. So you can't put humans on every one of those deals. But what if you could engage in a human-like way and have a conversation and understand my pain points and what I'm trying to do as a business and how I'm trying to scale, and then how you can use this to help us get to market faster and how we can use your tool, and have that conversation for the $5 deal as well as the sales-led enterprise deal. So in those PLG sales cycles where we can't talk to everyone, where you have this massive long tail and you're trying to convert free trial to paid, put a superhuman to engage your buyers and move them along their journey and get them using your product and start paying for your product. And I think that's the place, for example, HubSpot is one of our key customers, and they increased their revenue by 25% when they put a superhuman in their PLG motion. Another very large, I'm not allowed to say the name, but very, very large, let's call it social networking platform is using it, and saw their sales cycles went down from 22 days on average to 2 days. and we doubled their ASP. So massive impact when we're, in that down market commercial segment, but we're also working for companies that are sales led and doing enterprise as well and helping support deal cycles.
So one of the things you brought up that resonate with me is this, hey, when you're talking to a human salesperson, they can't recall the, hundreds of decks you have on a particular topic. They don't know all the industries. They don't know all that. Whereas for an AI, that's something they're particularly good at. Now, my co-founder, Mike, he runs this thing called ArcPrize where he studies these things around AIs. And one of the things he talks about a lot is that there are things that AIs are very good at and humans are bad at. And then the inverse is also true. There are things that humans are good at and these AIs are so bad at. And it's kind of weird for us right now because we can sort of feel both of these things happening at the same time. So I guess the question is like, where does that apply for this product category right now? Like, what are the things where you're like, to your point, the slide deck recall, the things that's like really, really good at? And then what are the bounds of it? Where are the places where you're like, hey, you're just, if this is the thing you're trying to solve, like, we're just not there yet.
Yeah. Great question. Yeah, I think to be honest, across the whole continuum, if I answer that question as it relates to the different roles across the organization, I think the AE is the safest at this moment because there are a lot of those more softer skills, right? Navigating the org, understanding who you're talking to. But I would say 80% of the deal is the conveying of information, understanding the buyer's needs. What is their pain point? What is the solution that I can offer to solve that pain point and the most cost-effective, the most reliable, accurate way? And how can I get it into their product or into market to solve their pain as soon as possible? And so in that, transfer of information, the AI is exponentially better than a human. So, I love it. People ask me if the AIs will hallucinate. And like one of my favorite things to say is, do your sellers hallucinate? And they do so nefariously. They know they're hallucinating to get the deal done, right? So they're likely to do it exponentially less. So I think, on the softer skills, of course, humans are still here to meet buyers when they're active, ready, engaged, answer their questions. That's where I think the superhumans and agents can do exponentially better than a human can in that process.
You mentioned, you think the AE role is the one that is like most valuable still in this moment in time. I'm curious when you look at, these customers like HubSpot, the social network, even at 1Mind, like what about the go-to-market org structure is changing? Like how are they being built differently in this new age?
Yeah, I think right now are the playbooks we have a marketing team. If you look at like the journey of the life cycle of a customer across, you have marketing, you have sales, and you have customer success, right? Like to onboard, upsell, cross-sell, et cetera. I think as we can have these agents and superhumans, whatever it is, be supporting buyers from step one, from first touch all the way through to upsell. You're going to have one team managing that. It's not going to be bifurcated into these three different departments that are in silos that kind of talk to each other on an update call, but aren't actually working together and don't have the common goal. And I think it'll really come around a very customer-centric, if you will, life cycle management of the customer that's all in one. And so the role of the human would be to manage from beginning to end. And I think we need new playbooks and new frameworks. And I don't know exactly what those are. I think we need to rely on smart people like Winning by Design or like whoever it is to say, what is the new playbook in today's world where all these tasks and the transfer of information can happen by agents and superhumans? And then where do humans play a role? And the humans will play a role not in these siloed organizations, because we stay in silos because humans have capacity limitations. They have time limitations. They have recall limitations. They get sick, and when they're good, they're gone, and they move to your competitor. All those things go away if the superhuman is doing the job. Once you train it up and she's good, she's never going to quit on you, well, unless you don't pay your 1Mind bills. But right?
Well, so how are you deploying your AEs maybe differently than how another company would right now?
Yeah, so our superhuman, in fact, she is literally like, I'm out for a raise right now. And our superhuman and I, we have all these metrics really clear right now, is 76% of the opportunities that we're in our pipeline and our growth has been pretty fantastic over the last 18 months, has been sourced by our superhuman. And so she's not just the first touch, and she's not just creating the opportunity, but she's shortening our sales cycle. So for example, when I was selling to HubSpot, I sold to Kip, who's the CMO, and Kieran, who's the head of AI. at HubSpot. But their entire teams had to get on board with this. They had to say, okay, we're going to implement this. So the deal wasn't done when they were bought into the concept of buying 1Mind. I had to go and talk to 20 other people. But instead of talking to me, I said, hey, talk to Mindy if you have questions. So I had like the marketing ops people who were asking data integration questions. So I was like, just go talk to our superhuman, go talk to Mindy. So I could see these conversations happening. And I think there were like 50 conversations that happened to Mindy. And that deal cycle, which probably would have been like 90 days, a typical average enterprise sales cycle, went down to 30 days. Because they got their questions answered. And then I got on a call and I was like, do you have any further questions? Like, I saw you asked about our APIs. I saw you asked about how we integrate. I saw you asked about hallucination. Went into that call knowing what they cared about. And then the deal cycle was like that. And it just completely shrunk that cycle. So we're using it not just to like get into deals, but I only have so many resources. I only want so many salespeople. Like I want salespeople to manage the relationship and get it over the line. And I want our superhumans to be selling, to be constantly always on, always selling. We're building a superhuman right now to onboard our customers. So that's the next piece. So she's going to take them through, here's what you need to do to onboard. Then we have a superhuman to support customers, post implementation. Here's how, okay, you've got questions or you want new data or you keep your data fresh. Like, how do you see into her brain? Here's a superhuman to support that. So I want to put as many superhumans as I can across the full life cycle and eat our own dog food or drink our own champagne or whatever you want to call it.
That is fascinating. So I'm curious about like the human psychology side, the buyer psychology side of that. Like when you said, go talk to Mindy, like in this case, I think there's probably like a curiosity where people are like, well, I guess I am going to buy this thing, so maybe I should go give it a whirl. But if you're not selling Mindy, say you were just selling, I don't know, some other random software, do you think that same curiosity would be there to go talk to Mindy? Or if like, yeah, walk me through that element of it. Cause, I assume you see this with all your cycles where people are like, I want to see how this goes. So there's like just sort of curiosity that drives people through the cycle.
Yeah. It's interesting. So I think there's some industries and verticals where just like, if you're selling into tech, you're selling tech to tech, like you're selling to technologists, like they're going to talk to it. They're used to. I think the world is moving in the direction that we're all talking to, ChatGPT on our phones, right? So, we're probably further ahead of it in the Bay Area and then in the tech world than others, but the world is still going there. And I love it when people ask me if they'll talk to her because it's just talking. I'm not asking you to use a tool. I'm asking you to have a conversation. We all know how to have a conversation. So, we've got a couple, like HubSpot being one or Owner being another one. Owner sells to restaurants, right? So they need to they created a clone of Adam, their CEO. So to help them with their grader. So once they come through, they can talk about like the scoring before they come in and tell them how well they're doing so they can sell their product. But, if you look at that business as well, those restaurant owners, do they know how to talk? All they have to do is hit talk and then they're talking, right? So it's actually not using tech. It's not as like technology forward, even though you and I know like there's quite a bit to make that happen from a technology side. Like there is a lot of tech behind the scenes to make a superhuman, but not to engage with a superhuman. HubSpot saw that 88% of their audience, when they landed on the page where she lived, talked to her. And of those, 35% had a conversation that was deep and meaningful, meaning she was able to uncover pain points, she was solutioning with them, or she was driving them to free trial or to purchase. And so that's wild. If you think about a chatbot, you're lucky if 5% talk to the chatbot, like engage with a chatbot, and then maybe another 2% convert. It's like nothing. And all they're doing is throwing you to content or booking a meeting. Like they're driving all these chatbots today, which I don't understand why people love this inbound chatbot. If you look at the conversion rates, they're so low, and they're driving you to book a meeting with an SDR, which is like you're driving to book with somebody who doesn't know anything. Wouldn't you rather just have a high quality conversation right there, right then, than drive them to a 20-something who can barely represent your business?
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so you are replacing a lot of the traditional roles outside of the AE. Now, with this like freed up capacity, what's next? How are you where are you spending your like human capital, I guess, inside the company?
Yeah, I mean, we have a thing at 1Mind that if you replace your own job, so I'm not here yet with the board, but I would love to get to the place. So just full transparency, we haven't fully like papered this, but I would love to get to the point where we like forward invest your equity or do something that allows you, right? Like if you fully replace your role, I'll find another role for you, because if you're smart and capable, then there's other things to do. There's tons of things to do, like building the AI agents within. Like there are so many things that we can do ourselves, like to make us more AI forward within our own organization and outside of even just using Superhumans, but just building agents to do workflow and tasks and everything else that we need to do. So I just think it's a different job. And it takes a different skill set. Like it's a different skill set. So some of those people may not have jobs. I think we're hiring for people who are capable of all of it, right? So capable of making that transition. And that's something we look for as we're hiring right now. But I think the world is going to shift. And I think we're doing the world a disservice when we tell people that their jobs aren't going to be replaced, because that's not the reality that we're moving towards.
That's a real money where your mouth is move. I love it. I think, I sort of feel similarly that the folks who figure out how to do this are creating immense value for customers, for the organization, etc. But there still is that like psychological safety, that fear. Like it's easier for us to, humans feel like we feel loss aversion much more strongly than we do sort of like opportunity gain. And so even for someone who sort of theoretically knows like I can go do that, there's sort of that thing that kind of holds them back. And so like having these little nudges where it's like, no, this is a good thing, it kind of helps people just keep developing their skills and pushing into areas where it's like, this is going to be way more valuable. And even though you're not doing this task anymore, the next task will be just as valuable as the next one. And you can kind of just, repeatedly do that over time. And it's such a powerful, innovative cycle.
Yeah, we have to teach ourselves to use new things, right? And
Totally.
so anybody who doesn't have that curiosity mindset, like I was in remedial classes. I don't tell this story often, but I'm happy to tell it. Like when I was young, I actually thought I was behind. We moved a lot. My parents were separated, and I lived in 22 houses before I was 18. So because I was going into a different school every year, the schools thought I was slower than everyone else. And I believed it. I believed I was slower. I believed I was dumber than everyone else in the class. Like I couldn't do it. But it wasn't until I had people believe in me, and it was later in life that I actually, in my 20s, where somebody took a bet on me, and actually that person passed away just recently. So it's hitting me hard hearing this right now as I say the story. But when I had that person take a bet on me and believe in me, I started to believe in myself. And so I was like, wait, I can do a lot more than I ever thought I was capable of. And I think that's true for everyone today. Like we can do and accomplish and have anything we fucking want in this world if we believe it with positive emotion and positive intention. And we truly believe it. But if you don't believe it and you put it out into the universe, it's actually going to backfire and do the opposite. So I think like in this world, as we're moving into this, we're moving from like not having machines to having machines, or carrying bricks on our back. Like this is the new revolution. And if you either can embrace it and try to like figure it out and be a part of it, or you will be left behind. So I think it's just really hard for me to hear people say, oh, well, no, like, it's not as going as fast as it is. And those of us like you and I who really know what's happening and are like tapped in, I believe we do the humanity a disservice by saying anything other than the job as you know it today is gone.
Yeah. I thank you for sharing that. On this topic, like you see a lot of your customers, prospects, 1Mind itself are thinking more ambitiously about what is possible here. What do you think is separating those companies and those teams and those individuals from the ones who aren't? And like, what is the 1% doing? And how do the rest of us cultivate that mindset?
I mean, honestly, we're typically selling top down. So it's, in an organization, we're selling to the CRO, the CMO, and they have a mandate from the board or the CEO to say, you got to use AI. And I'm like, well, shit, how do I use AI? I can put some like, copy editing tools in. I can do some, there's, and in go-to-market specifically, like what are the use cases they can do it? And I think they're looking, and I think today is a unique time where you're not going to get fired for trying something today. I think 5 years ago, you might get fired for putting the wrong tool in place and it's not working, right? So I think there is a mandate to try and to do things and be ahead of the curve, because if you're not ahead, you're going to be left behind. But I do find, if I'm being completely honest, there are some of our customers where people are lower in the organization that are blockers. That they get in and like, they see this as like, oh my gosh, this might replace my job. And the fear factor makes them slow the project down or not get us the content we need, or, try to put it in, if you put the superhuman in a corner where nobody sees it, then it's not going to get any exposure and it's not going to work, right? So those are real problems like that we have to figure out and solve. And within that organization, I can't change that, but I think it's, it's the executives at that company to make them feel comfortable that they, if they lean into this, they still have a job and it just might look different.
The executives you think that are doing a good job of fostering that culture and enabling this kind of experimental mindset, what are they doing differently?
I mean, I think, well, first of all, I don't think it's a matter of, I've seen a couple companies. I actually heard one company recently that had everyone go out and build agents, and they built thousands of agents, and half of them were all doing the same thing. And I'm like, oh my God, that sounds really scary. It's what's cool about that though. Actually, I can speak out of both sides of my mouth on it. Like, I love the experimentation and fostering curiosity of individuals, but they're not going to be production ready. So I think there's something beautiful that go figure it out, go find a task that you're doing today and create an agent to create something to do the task that you're doing. I think that's amazing. But are they ready to go into production and scale the organization? Probably not. It's probably not the ICs that are going to necessarily do it. Sometimes they will, and that's amazing. But I actually think the onus is on the executives to say, okay, what are we doing? Are we build versus buy? Are we doing it ourselves? I heard Megan Eisenberg, who's the CMO of Samsara, recently said, she went out and built her own AEO within their company, right? So they built the equivalent of Profound themselves, and it's amazing and it's working incredibly well. So I think there are places where you can build it yourself and do it. And then she's encouraging the people down below her organization, and they have, I don't know how many she said, but there were many agents, if you will, that they've built, and then they bought some as well. So across the whole org, and had to reset and okay, we're going to figure this out. I'm going to make this a mandate as my team to figure this out together. But I don't think it's any one individual task. And I think that's sometimes where people fall down, is they're like, okay, go use AI in your day to day, and having them figure it out. Yeah, we all should know how to build an agent. We all should know how to build workflows and do things. But I think we have to, as leaders, guide and say, what's the best thing for us? And do we build it ourselves or do we buy it? And there are places I think there's advantages to both.
I think what we have seen on that experimentation front is the orgs that do the, hey, we're going to get everybody to build their first AI workflow or their first AI agent or something like that. They raise the floor of what's possible inside the company. They may not necessarily raise the ceiling, but they raise the floor up meaningfully, because now everyone in the company has this tactile feel for, oh, how do these things work? What's possible? What's not possible? And when you have that, the fear sort of kind of fades into the background. It's not that it disappears. It's just you have a much more practical sense of what's going on here. And so you can see how you could go solve some problems, but you could also clearly see, oh, I'm still needed to help with this, this, and the other. And all of a sudden it's just a much more, you're just problem solving versus fear mongering at that point in time, where, the narrative with AI is, there's a lot of fear mongering going on.
100%. And I'd rather embrace it and be a part of change than be left on the sidelines.
Totally.
So you could, yeah.
So we talked about, all these jobs changing. How have you, what are the new jobs that are arising? What are the new skill sets that you're seeing folks lean into?
One of my favorite things, I don't know what it's called, but having an internal job to manage all the AI across your organization, right? So I'm hiring for that right now. So if anybody sees that, we're trying to figure out who that person is. Our CTO and our head of product and our head of customer success are right now, they have weekly meetings talking about all the agents and things that we need to build. And I'm like, you guys need to do your jobs, and I need to find somebody to do this job across the whole org. So I think that's super exciting. Obviously the prompt engineering job, understanding literally anyone can learn how to prompt engineer. I find it interesting that everybody has these engineering titles though. Actually, I was thinking about this in the shower this morning. I was like the forward deploy engineer, and I'm they're not really engineers. And it's actually, I don't think it's fair to the people who are engineers, who have worked really hard to get that, that degree and understand technology the way that they have. So I think it's kind of cute, but it's not what it is. And so let's call it something else that's incredibly valuable, but it's not an engineer. That's not what they're doing. So I don't buy into that. And I actually put my engineers on a pedestal. And I, even in today's world where you can do things very fast, I think, they're one of the most valued, everyone's valued, but they're one of the most valued, orgs within the company, of course, still in a world where you can do it fast.
I like the word builder. We're all building something. That to me feels much more representative of the work that is happening. And it is distinct from, an AI, a true, machine learning engineer or something like that, or that's a different skill set in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and they're creative too. Like what they're not giving themselves credit for is like engineers are creative as well, but like on like when you're actually building these, you have to like there's an art. It's a combination of art and science. Like there's an art to a lot of this. And that art, they're not giving themselves credit for the art that they're doing, which obviously I love art and I have my own art that I do but I think that there's a value in that and they're devaluing the creative side of us. And I think as a world where we go where agents and superhumans can do all the tasks and all the workflows, that side, the creative art, softer skills are the ones that are going to be most valued.
So you talked about like this job of like managing the agents. Like what does that practically look like for you all right now? And like where do you think it's heading in the next 6-12 months, something like that?
I mean, right now I think it's somebody who understands that it is somebody who has to understand the full organization, right, across, because I think the agents have to talk to each other across functions. And so it's not just doing one task, but agents managing agents is the ultimate goal, right? So that like the handoff, the flows, the process, we're still trying to figure it out. Like I don't have all the answers. And it's not, I think moving away from these siloed disciplines is where the world is going.
Yeah.
And I think it's exciting. If I were like starting my career again, that's where I want to start. Like I want to understand the whole organization. Like I'm hiring a chief of staff right now who is going to have their hands in everything across each piece of the business. And I think it's similar. It's like a chief of staff for agents, if you will, for AI.
Yeah, it's the thing we're seeing is the workflow looks a lot like a person who is reviewing the output of an agent. And that's kind of the job. Like day in and day out, you're looking at it, you're saying, yep, that looks good, or no, not quite. And if it's no, not quite, it's like, well, what if we tried this, or what if we tried that, to try and get it to more consistently output, thumbs up versus like, not quite. And that's, so you're kind of like managing these rubrics, managing the evaluations. And it really is like getting very good at just sort of holding a quality bar, knowing what that standard and rubric looks like, and then just tuning the engine over and over again.
Yeah, the AI slop that's out there is like incredible. Like I looked at something the other day and at first glance, I was like, wow, this is fucking good. Then I like printed it out and I read it and I was like, ugh.
Do you prescribe to the dead internet theory?
I don't even know what that is. No, what is the dead internet theory?
The dead internet theory is that if you go to like, any of these major social networks, like the vast majority of content out there is written by an AI at this point in time. And so, what's being written, what's being read is all AIs talking to AIs. It's not real.
I mean, that's what the world we're going to. Like right now we're building superhumans to talk to humans, but it's agent to agent, and like that's the future. And so we have to be building infrastructure and, what those processes are when agents are talking to agents. And I can't even get my head around that sometimes. Like, fuck, is this going to work?
Well, I think it's definitely, we're definitely going to create a market for, so like AI free, content or AI free art. We're going to want that from humans. There will be a market for that.
All right. Well, then that's where I'll go sell my artwork.
I think so. I mean, it's the same thing as like AI is clearly way better than humans at chess, but chess has never been more popular than ever. And I think you kind of see that across industries where like humans, we just, I don't know, like we like to see what is possible by us. And that doesn't mean that we still won't have AI and agents doing enormous amounts of economically productive work, but there still is a lot of places I think where humans have we just like each other. I think. And
what if we move to a world where we all don't have to work so hard to meet our basic needs? Like, okay, I'm not going to get into my politics, but Maslow's hierarchy of like basic needs are met, like truly met across the world, where we can all do the things that actually feel good to us and give us joy and bring our elevation, our energy up to another level. That's a world I get really excited about, right? Well, and if you and I want to create companies and do things like that gets us excited, we get to go do those things. But not everybody, most people are in jobs that I would imagine they're not loving. They may tell themselves, like actually pushing back on a friend the other day. She's like, I don't know what the industry was. And I was like, really? What the fuck do you love about that? Like, that sounds awful and boring. She's like, no, I love this. I love what I'm doing. I'm like, I don't know. Like, do you love it? Like, what do you love? So I love problem solving challenge. I love humans. I love people. I love managing people. I love like understanding and connecting. I'm a relationship person and a product person, but that's what I love, not necessarily even building Superhumans, right?
Yeah.
Like, I love that I get to build something that makes change. But what if everybody didn't have to work so hard?
I think I think you're probably right that that's the direction we're on. If you looked at our, agrarian ancestors, I'm sure, most of them probably weren't in love with farming. And if they looked at today's jobs by comparison, they go like, you all look like you're just having fun all day. Like you're a Twitch streamer, a YouTube, like, is that a real job? Like that doesn't look real. But here it is. Like we have created economically useful jobs out of what would appear to our agrarian ancestors as just fun or nonsense at the end of the day. And so I do think that, humans will just kind of continue to move up that abstraction layer and find new ways to, take up our time in ways that are economically useful.
Yeah. And well, I'll tell a story of, so I have two brothers. Mm-hmm. My oldest brother both of them were CEOs and entrepreneurs as well. I don't know. One of us should have ended up in jail if you look at our history. So we had an interesting childhood, but my oldest brother was a CEO, and then he just kind of like dropped out of this world of capitalism and decided, I'm not in it anymore. I'm going to go be a Buddhist monk. And so like he went and was a monk for a second, came back, and now he's a chaplain. And so what he does in his chaplaincy is he walks around, so he sits by people's bedsides when they're dying, when they have nobody else. And he walks around homeless camps and says, you need to talk to somebody. There is absolutely no money in that. Like he makes absolutely nothing, but he's doing God's work, So I think it's a shift. Like we will shift the value of what our work is. And I think there'll be a value shift. Hopefully that's my hope in this new world is that his work will actually be valued.
Yeah. I mean, clearly that is valuable work that he is doing. You were talking about yourself. You're like, I am a relationship person. I love to, sort of do these things. And here you are, changing the way that sales works. So what would you tell a, 22-year-old who's like, I want to be in sales. I'm the same as you. I love relationships. I love sort of helping people solve problems. Where would you direct them?
I would direct them to focusing on your softer skills, right? So it's less about the process and the methodology and the transfer of information and selling a product and talking about a product, because I think all that transfer of information is going to go to AI and go to agents, superhumans, what we call them. And it's more about creating connection to other humans. I think like one of the valuable lessons I remember my dad told me when I went to college is like, I don't give a shit if you learn anything. Just learn how to connect to people. Learn how to have a conversation. A really good friend of mine is from Ethiopia, and her family was royalty in Ethiopia. And she learned at 5, she told me she had to go to parties and learn how to socially say hi to people and like ask really intriguing and curious questions that invoked curiosity. And I thought that was fascinating. Like that at that age, she was taught like, this is how you show up and this is how you like engage people. So that's what I would teach them is like, learn how to engage people and lean into what makes you human.
So on the what makes you human part, like it's pretty clear to me that resilience is one of those things that is going to be increasingly in high demand. And you have had an enormous amount of resilience, both in, professional and in your personal life. Like what do you think, what do you think instilled that in you, and how do we cultivate that in others?
Ooh, as a mom of 2 young girls right now, I have a 3 and a 5-year-old. I think about this all the time. So I believe I probably have had the modest success that I've had because of the trauma that I've had as a child. So I actually believe it's a trauma response that I am able to like, I love it when people tell me no. I love to be rejected. I'm like, I'm just going to use that as fuel to my fire. I have learned to, if I feel something, like I've learned, I get it out and then I'm over it. Like I've had to learn that in order to survive. There's a survival mechanism. But fuck, I don't want to have my kids have to go through any of the trauma. I mean, they have a very sheltered life. My oldest daughter is adopted. And if I look at the life that she would have had, like her biological siblings, very different. 1-bedroom apartment in Philadelphia with her mom who works at McDonald's. And I would never want her to have to go through what I went through as a child. So I don't know. So the answer is, I don't know what the answer is, other than I try not to give my kids what they want, and I try to like I'm a little bit of a tiger mommy. I don't actually believe in the gentle parenting. Not that you're asking me about my parenting styles here, but yeah, I don't believe in anything abusive either. But I also I don't know. I'm struggling with it every day. So if anyone has an answer, let me know. I'd love to.
Well, I got a 3 and 5 year old girls too, so I'm figuring
amazing.
it out I'm figuring it out as we go too, and it's I think you're onto something where it's like, of course they're gonna have maybe more than I did when I was growing up, but that there's you can build resilience into them by teaching them they have to earn things, not having instant gratification and all this other stuff without to your point, putting them through trauma at the same time. And so I have to believe that there's a healthier path to still instill those same skills.
I hope so. I mean, my one thing is for all my childcare, because of course I need a lot with the job I have. I always say to them, the number one thing that will get you fired, is if I see my kid crying and you give them what they want. Mm-hmm. Do not fucking give them what they want when they're crying. If they have to, I don't care how old they are, get it together, calm down, and ask me in a reasonable voice. But you are not going to throw a fit and get what you want. That is a instant no for me.
Yeah. It's hey, we're going to teach some skills here. These are teachable moments.
Exactly.
What's, you talked about, this, you like hearing no. You use no as an edge. Where am I going with this? I'm curious, what is a thing that where has that served you well? Where have you been oh, that actually helped and fueled this engine of curiosity, this can-do attitude? And where do you feel that maybe it's held you back, where you're I could have learned this I could have learned this an easier way?
Well, I mean, so where that comes from for me is that, as building a company and building a category, if you will, in the early days of Sixth Sense, I got no all the time, when I was out fundraising. And today, as I share it with the market, I share what we're doing, we get no quite a bit. We get yes a lot. But I actually get worried if we get yes too much. And the reason for it is I feel like we're too close to reality of where we are today. And I don't think you create a category or create something new if you're just working in the bounds of what people are used to today. So if I think about chatbots or something like that, somebody looks at us as a chatbot and it's a slightly better, I'm eek. That's not good. I don't want to be slightly better than, I want to create something net new of changing how that we're doing business and how we're going to market and how we're talking to our customers. And I think that category defining companies are able to do that, is that you have to get no, because most people won't accept it because it's not in the confines of the playbooks that they know. So it is a point solution, making something I'm doing today incrementally better. And I don't want that.
So that's super interesting. This idea of hearing enough no to know that you're taking enough chances.
Correct.
Do you operationalize that somehow? Or is that just a feeling that you have where you're I feel like it's a little too easy right now. And we need it. We need to push ourselves to the next, customer's persona or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know how to operationalize it other than I love hearing it. Or a salesperson would, one of our reps will call me and be like, oh, that was bad. Or I remember the early days, I brought on a head of sales when we were just at $1 million in revenue and, or a little bit before. And I remember when people would reject what we're doing, we're almost virtually kicking each other under the table. And she'd be we didn't get that one. I'm no, Katie, it's good. It's good. We cannot, if everybody loves this, we're going to fucking fail. So we have to get these no's. These no's are important. And also they tell us something too. You should, why did they say no, right? Where does it, so it helps us be better and how we can grow and create the best product that actually meets the needs of the market and where the market is. But I don't think you create anything big by getting yes from everyone. That just means you're oh, you're slightly better and I get it. I don't want everybody to get it.
Awesome, Amanda. Well, I think that is a fantastic place to end it. So for those of you out here hearing no, use Amanda's wisdom. It's just fuel to go figure out how to make it better. And thanks, everyone, for listening to Agents of Scale this week. Amanda, it's been a pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll see you soon. Thank you.
If you're finding value in the show, we'd appreciate it if you'd take a moment to share it with friends, post online, write a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or just leave us a comment on YouTube. Of course, we always welcome your feedback. guest and topic suggestions, and sponsorship inquiries, either via our website, cognitiverevolution.ai, or by DMing me on your favorite social network. The Cognitive Revolution is part of the Turpentine Network, a network of podcasts where experts talk technology, business, economics, geopolitics, culture, and more, which is now a part of A16Z. We're produced by AI Podcasting. If you're looking for podcast production help for everything from the moment you stop recording to the moment your audience starts listening, check them out and see my endorsement at aipodcast.ing. And finally, I encourage you to take a moment to check out our new and improved show notes, which were created automatically by Notion's AI Meeting Notes. AI Meeting Notes captures every detail and breaks down complex concepts so no idea gets lost. And because AI Meeting Notes lives right in Notion, everything you capture, whether that's meetings, podcasts, interviews, or conversations, lives exactly where you plan, build, and get things done. No switching, no slowdown. Check out Notion's AI Meeting Notes if you want perfect notes that write themselves. And head to the link in our show notes to try Notion's AI Meeting Notes free for 30 days.